In today's episode, I've got something very special for you. I've got the inestimable, the one and only, the unique, the amazing Danny Roy. So some of you may be asking, who is Danny Roy? Some of you already know, but some of you don't. It's not like he's, in my eyes, the guy is like the biggest celebrity in the world. But some of you may not know him already. So who is Danny Roy? Danny Roy is a cousin. He is an amazing human being. He's one of the kindest, most generous people you'll ever meet. I love this guy to death. But on top of that, he's also an incredibly amazing musician. Huge fan. I've been following him like ever since he got started in this whole thing, all the way back to his high school days, which will be discussed in the episode. But anyway, so who is Danny Roy? So let's give you a brief, because we kind of touch on a bunch of these cornerstones within the interview, but Danny Roy was the lead guitar player and I believe main songwriter in a little band you may have heard of called Thunderfunk. There is another band called Thunderfunk out there now that are, I think, still currently operating. This is not the same band. Thunderfunk was a band from the Maritimes, from Moncton more specifically, and they kind of had a fusion of funk, hard rock, little bits of metal, I guess, and a sense of humor that was unrivaled. I was lucky enough to see them play just one time. They never really done a tour or anything, outside of the immediate area, but I did manage to fly home for something to see them play, and amazing. There isn't one person in that band that the other guys had to prop up. Everyone was super talented. They had a very cool looking image. They were part of the scene in Moncton back in the day. And from there, Danny went on, and he did a lot of solo stuff. He'd play a lot of solo gigs. And I think he was just kind of jamming around. I think I want to touch on that next time. But he played with a lot of different people just in the Moncton scene. And then he got hooked up to a band called the Divorcees. They came in, recruited him. They wanted a hotshot guitar player who could play a lot of different instruments. So he was playing lap steel and various other stringed instruments in that band. Background vocals, I believe, he provided as well. So that was a country band, which I know wasn't Danny's. It wasn't a choice I don't think he wanted to make at the time. But these guys play traditional country, and Danny and I are both fans of traditional country, like old school, hard knock country, like the likes of Johnny Cash and that sort of thing, Willie Nelson, and they're more in that vein. And he played with them for a while. I'm going to say probably a couple of years, and they did a few tours together across Canada. And the Divorcees are a name to be reckoned with. He was also a short-lived member of the Melanie Morgan Band. You may have heard of her. She's pretty big in the country circles, and she's from the East Coast as well. And she was one of the contestants, or her band was one of the contestants in the show called Cover Me Canada, which was on CBC. This is a few years ago now, and they were trying to find the next big Canadian band, pretty much like a talent show. And the idea was every week, each of the bands competing would be performing a cover of a famous Canadian song. And the big sell to that show, which I thought was really cool, was they would bring the person that played or wrote or whatever on the original song. So for example, you had Alana Miles, of Black Velvet fame in there working with the artist. You had Brian Vollmer from Helix on the show assisting the band. You had, the guy from Triumph in there. You had Neil Sedaka, I'm thinking. But anyway, very basically, for every cover song that the band had to do, the original writer / performer, whatever, was there to coach them in how to actually record the song, because all these songs were released on iTunes, which is a pretty cool thing. And then, and then perform, and then kind of move on. It was a voting contest a la American Idol. And Danny, the band that Danny was in, the Melanie Morgan Band, actually placed second. And there's some controversy surrounding that, which we kind of touch on in the interview, so you can listen to that. Anyway, Danny's an amazing guy. He's one of my favorite people in the world for sure. You're going to enjoy this interview. I'm going to see how much of this I can cram into one single episode, but I think the conversation is a little lengthy, and I may have to divvy it up into a couple episodes. So please enjoy. And really, subscribe to the podcast. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Any comments, hey, I will reply to all of your comments on air. So you guys got questions, you want to hear something, you want to say something, I will respond to your comments on air. So please comment. Anyway, we're going to tap it off here and get us into the episode, part 1 of the Danny Roy interview.
Hello.
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 And it's recording. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Awesome. So we probably, hopefully we didn't use up all our good material though.
Oh, no, there's lots.
There's lots.
There's lots.
So, now I gotta think of something to say. Hey, I get some Thunderfunk. So I'll introduce the podcast. So I'll just do it properly. So this is the Seanorama's Sean Geek podcast episode, who knows what. And I get Danny Roy, my cousin, the guitar tech for Big Sugar, which is so cool, on the show. That's your introduction. That's all I got.
How's it going?
It's going very well. And you?
Going great.
So we tried to do this before, and I forgot.
we had a technical malfunction.
We just did earlier. Yeah. So
the studio engineer dropped the ball.
Yeah. So what I wanted, I actually had some questions. So one of the questions was, the infamous second album of Thunderfunk, will it ever see the light of day?
Well, actually, we did a reunion show a while ago, and then we printed a bunch up, and then we had some left over, but no one seems to know where they went. The drummer thinks that the singer had them at his house, and then the singer thought the drummer had them. And then, honestly, it just kind of slipped my mind to check into that. But I was thinking about it the other day, and yes, I definitely want to release it properly. Like I said, we did like a very small, CD release kind of thing. But yeah, absolutely digitalize it, because it's still on CD. But I should put it online and have it, because it's a great record. I'm really, really, really proud of it. I think it's really good.
Well, you did play some of the tracks for me when I went home at some point, or something along those lines. Like, I did hear some stuff off of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember how or when that was, because I don't go home that often. But I somehow heard it somewhere, somehow, with you. Probably in your house or room or something.
It was, yeah, I'm right. It was in my house for sure, downtown Moncton on Victoria Street. I still remember in the living room, hardwood floor. Yeah, I still remember letting you listen to it, and then after we went out, after that. But yeah, I remember letting.
Okay, so was that the night we went out and got shit-faced?
Yes.
So that was for my grandmother Dora's funeral, probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it would have been probably. And I don't know if you remember, but the Gibson guitar rep was out with us too.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Remember that? He was in
Yeah.
town, and my boss wanted me to take him out and show him a good time, so we brought him along with us.
Oh, my God. Yes, I remember that now. Holy shit. Wow, good memory. All the Moncton trips kind of blur all into one now for me. Like, I can't... So there was one time we went to the bar. I think you were there. And didn't we not run into the guitar player or bass player for someone that was playing either that night or the next night in Moncton? Oh.
I don't know. That doesn't really ring a bell, but...
I remember the...
Not to say it didn't happen.
I remember the bar we were in.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called, but I remember what it looked like. I remember like going up the stairs and stuff.
Yeah, it was Fat Tuesdays, yeah.
Was that Fat Tuesdays? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the guy came and talked to me, and he thought I was someone else. And that's how that conversation went. I think, I don't know, all us bald guys, I guess, look the same, but he started talking to me, and then I think I'm assuming it was you, you're like, oh, well, that's the guitar player in, the girl, she had long, big, thick hair. She had a song called, not Amsterdam, but Amanda Marshall.
Oh, Amanda Marshall. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah.
And it was the guitar player, the bass player that was there. I can't remember which one it was.
They were playing in town, and I actually went to that show. They were playing at the Coliseum.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if that was. I don't know if that was the same visit or that's even that same night. It might have been.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it is.
Yeah. See, my brain works a little bit. So
yeah, okay. No. So the Thunderfunk album, definitely, it's not forgotten. It actually is. It is planned to be actually just released online. Just for all to have and enjoy.
Awesome. Are you gonna think you're gonna do it on like SoundCloud or what do you? How are you?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, probably SoundCloud. Yeah, just make. I was actually thinking of doing like a compilation.
Okay.
Because we have like a demo that was like an EP that was only on cassette.
I have it.
Songs.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah. So there's songs that
it's got Muff and Fluff in there, and
yeah.
So that stuff there off that cassette? Do you have digital copies of that?
No, not at all. It's never been transferred.
Do you need digital copies of that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I will make them for you.
Okay.
I have the technology.
That's not my forte.
No, that's mine. I can do stuff like that with my eyes closed. So I actually picked up, because my first 3 cassettes were never transferred to digital. So I picked up a cassette. It's like it looks like a Walkman, and you plug it into your computer, and it will do a conversion for you.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So I converted my first 3 cassettes of my solo stuff or whatever you want to call it. I converted it all to MP3, which is pretty cool. Cool in that I did it, not so cool in that now people may be able to hear these songs, which I'm not too crazy about sharing. So,
well, unfortunately, in the entertainment business, you have to let yourself be seen naked.
Yes.
Be appreciated sometimes.
Yeah, true enough. So Thunderfunk was like the band. Did you have a band before that? Like, I remember you sent me a video of you guys playing Kiss and playing, a bunch of stuff. Like, was there any original material that came out of that stuff, or was it just covers?
No, that was just covers. That was our high school, 10th grade band kind of thing.
Yeah.
10, 11. We were called Distorted Illusions.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a name. Okay, Distorted Illusions?
Yeah.
Cool. I still have that video cassette at home.
Really, eh?
I still do.
I don't even know if I had that. I'm sure I'd be somewhere, but you never know.
I think Todd, or if you don't have it, need a copy, I have the means of converting that, I think.
I'm terrible for that stuff. Like, even when you're asking if I had, like, digital versions of stuff, for some reason, you don't seem to think that you're just moving forward, and you don't seem to think that what you just did, or, you're going to want, not that you're not going to want it later, but.
No, but at the time you don't think,
Yeah, I've always just kept trying to move ahead and do something different, and what's next, and what's next, and what's next. But now, as you get older and you realize that, media formats are changing, and, we have a bunch of Thunderfunk concerts and shows and stuff on VHS that you need to get flipped over before they deteriorate, and the quality goes out the window, right? So stuff like that, So that would be great for sure.
Yeah, do you want me to look into see if I can do it?
Yeah, totally. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. I don't have any Thunderfunk, but I do have that high school band. You sent me a video. You and I were sending videos back and forth at one point. I think you sent me like 3 different videos. I think I sent you videos too. Did I not? Or
yeah, you did.
I have no idea what I put on those things.
The memories. You remind me of stuff. Yeah, but which is great. Which is what I love. I love when someone, Turtle, the bass player in the Divorce, he for some reason he remembers stuff. So he'll tell stuff about a certain tour or a certain venue or a certain gig or a certain something, and it's like, man, I totally forgot about that. But then I'll tell him something he forgot about, and then the drummer will remember something. You know what I mean? So it's cool that way to be able to experience, things with multiple people, because even though you forget, like you said, everyone's memory works different. Someone else may remember.
Well, yeah, in that episode I did with Todd, where we were going back and remembering our youth, or the Burton Cummings episode, or whatever. Like, it was like, oh yeah, like. We had an episode where we talked about, like, growing up and going to that guy's house that had all those records, and it was like, I remember it fondly a particular way. He remembered it fondly a different way. And you kind of put the two stories together. It's like, oh man, like, it has more relevance after.
Well, the classic, I won't go too deep into that, but the classic version of that is Motley Crue, The Dirt, because that's what's so magical about that book.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have 4 different stories of everything. So it's great because one person will remember it a certain way, and the other person will be like, name 4 different people that were there that the other person didn't even mention.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? So it's awesome that way, because it triggers memories, and even us just going through memory lane right now, stuff I forgot about, that's like, as soon as you mention it, oh my God, yeah, that's right,
I did get to see Thunderfunk play once, by the way. And it was a trip I made home. I can't remember what trip it was. I honestly can't remember. But I was there. And I think it was like 2 nights before I had to go home. Maybe I was there with my ex or something. Because we went home once. Because I remember the timing was like perfect. Like, oh my God, I'm going to get to see Danny's band. Like, I'm super stoked. Because I love seeing family play. Like, I don't care who it is, and I don't care if it's good. I'm just excited to see family play. It's important. It's very important to me. Like the video, like mom and dad, and Uncle Paul, and and all that, like that stuff. Like, that was cool to watch too. Like you played on there too, and.
Yeah.
I don't think Turtle was playing, but the other guitar player from the Divorcees was there.
Jaybird, yeah.
Yeah, Jaybird, Like, I still have that on my computer. I still watch it, from time to time. I just love watching my dad play. Like,
well, and that was so cool for me, because you see pictures when you're young, and you hear stories like, I would just get mesmerized by the stories Paul would tell me, because he was the real deal. He was the musician.
The real deal.
He bought his house with from playing music. He played 6 nights a week, like.
He was a professional working musician.
Absolutely.
The only one I'd ever really known.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's what it kind of came down to. He's the only one that I knew that I wasn't reading about. It was actually someone I was connected to in my small little town. That did that.
Yeah.
So it kind of showed that, actually, that happened here too. It wasn't just in LA and New York, and this is happening everywhere. That's so wicked. Music was that important. So Yeah, that show was really neat to be able to play with, aunts and uncles who were part of the, not the golden years of music, but realistically,
the scene in Moncton back in the day.
Yeah, totally.
I just call it the scene. When I say the scene, I actually mean that scene every time, because to me I grew up with that and like hearing the stories and I don't know, like that was the scene for me. That was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so you get to play with Uncle Paul.
Yeah.
So like that must have been a dream come true.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was awesome. Even with your mom, I'd never played with your mom before. And Monette, I ended up playing with her a little bit later, but.
Whoa, was that the first time you played with my mom?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the first time with Monette?
Totally. Yeah.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah. That was major first. And then Monette actually, she hired me to do some shows with her choir. They do like throughout the year, they changed the theme of it, and it was a Grease kind of rock and roll theme.
Okay.
So she called me up and she wanted to play some guitar, so that was great. So I did that. But yeah, no, that was the first for playing with all those people.
Oh man. Oh, that must have been, yeah. I only get to play with Mom once. Still to this day, I've only got to play with Mom once. And that was at, it was Mom and Dad's anniversary party. And they had the instruments set up. Like, Mom and Dad were in a band called Pieces of Eight at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like more country than anything, and country and Eagles and kind of stuff like that. It wasn't what Mom wanted to do, but whatever. It's what Dad wanted to do, so that they did that. And so Dick was the drummer in that band. And then so he had his drums set up in the basement. And then I don't know who asked, but someone at some point said, well, you got the whole freaking family here, and everyone plays different instruments. Why don't you play? And we played, so I sat behind the kit. I played the drums, Todd played the guitar, Dad played the bass, Mom sang, and Uncle Paul played the keyboard, and we did one song. We did House of the Rising Sun. And holy shit, was it cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I actually got to play with like all the people I had wanted to play with, up to that point. And it's like, but I've been bugging Mom. Like, Mom's been recording stuff, as you know. Like, you've listened to some of that stuff.
Oh, she sends it all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, that's a dream come true for me. Like, Todd and I have been pushing her for, the last 30 years to record something. And now she's doing it. So, very, very excited about that. I'd still like to perform with her. Like, the drummer keeps saying, well, bring her into the studio. Like, get her to sing a background or something. Mm-hmm. And she keeps, flip-flopping. But I'm going to make it happen, man. Going to make it happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do it.
Yeah.
No, that's the kind of stuff that really connects. I mean, it's weird because growing up in the 80s, my perception of music and the music scene and how the 60s were in the 70s and then the 90s, and then I didn't really realize that it wasn't that long ago, the mid 60s, early 60s, mid 50s, when rock and roll really started, wasn't that long ago at that point.
Yeah. And
now that we're, let's say 60 years later, 50, 60 years later, and you can kind of see that was really the lifespan of it. And even though I didn't realize that I was in the middle of it, I was part of that,
part of that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. But you think it's going to go on forever, and you think that 30 or 20 years ago, especially when you're in your teens, you think it's forever ago. You don't realize that it was just, 20 years ago. You don't even know what 20 years is at that point. So, it's being able to play and chat and with people who were part of that scene, to me, is just like, you can't replace that because it's going to be gone. It's going to be people that were involved in all that. We're seeing it happen now. Everyone's going on about how everyone's dying, and everyone's dying in the music scene and all that. Yep. Well, yeah, of course, because that was 60 years ago.
Yeah, it's this epidemic. Well, it's not. They're just getting on in age.
Exactly. And since, you know, like rock and roll and pop and R&B and blues as we got to know it is done. We're just regurgitating the same stuff now,
Oh, yeah.
you know, right?
Oh, yeah.
So to
Except
see
for
all
Dome.
these people.
Except for Dome. We're inventing new shit. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean that in a very, you know.
No.
I just mean as far as a nostalgic. We're seeing the end of all those people. They're passing on, or they're retiring, or that album that you listened to countless times when you were a teenager is now classic. You know, it's 25 years old. You're like, what? How did that happen?
I know, that's weird.
So what I'm getting is being able to still be able to interact with people that were there and did it back then and were part of it and saw it change and experienced all the changes, you know. It's still great. I take advantage any time. That's one of my favorite things about the Big Sugar Guitar Technique thing is after the show, you know, just listening to stories, you know, about, you know, hitting the scene in the 80s and in the 90s and, you know, hanging out with Randy Bachman and hanging out with Chris Robinson and hanging out with Warren Haynes and hanging out with just, you know, stories like that, you know, it's just awesome. I can't get enough of that because I've been obsessed with that whole thing and that whole era of music my entire life. So it's great to still be able to hear real accounts, not a story of a story. You know, not so-and-so told me, you know. This same stuff that Uncle Paul could tell you, same stuff that your mom could tell you, same stuff that my mom could tell us, you know, like, they were there, they did it, you know.
I wish I could get Uncle Paul on my show. But I can't.
It would be, a wealth of, again, because it was Moncton, New Brunswick. It wasn't New York. It wasn't Montreal. It wasn't Toronto. So it would have been different, but the same.
Yeah.
But to have someone that was that busy and that sawed off, you know.
But that scene was big, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, talking to my mom about it, I was like, wait, I think it's way bigger than I thought it was. Like, you think it's Moncton, how big could it have been? Well, it was big, like you heard the story about Uncle Mike in Chicago, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
They're like that's not small potatoes.
Well, you know? The thing is a lot of people have the stereotype of kitchen party Maritimes, you know, and it's because, well, they were poor and they had nothing else to do, so they would just play music. They don't realize that it was, well, yeah, of course, it was Celtic and traditional music, and
sure, there's lots.
But
of
it was
that,
also it was in all kinds of music. It was in country, it was in rock, it was in blues. It was the same concept. People were broke. People didn't have really much to do. It was a small population towns and villages and stuff. So it's the same idea. They just got together and played music, and they learned to play, and their brothers played, and their dad played, but it wasn't just the stereotype of what the rest of Canada and the rest of the world, for that matter, think. It was in all genres of music. It didn't stop at, you know, Celtic or traditional, you know.
Yeah.
So tons of amazing musicians. I've always said that. I don't mean that to no disrespect to anyone else across the country. But you notice when you leave the Maritimes, you can see the difference in the talent, in the level, how should I say that? In the quantity of amount of high-end musicians in the Maritimes versus everywhere else.
Good point.
It's very noticeable when you leave, you know, and I'm not saying that there's no amazing musicians in all the other cities or provinces.
If per capita though.
Oh, per capita, it's through the roof. It's through the roof, you know. So it's, and that's something that, you know, a lot of Maritimers are proud of, East Coasters, whatever you want to say, proud of, and they should be, because it's, you know, I saw it on Cover Me Canada. You know, I could see it, you know, everywhere you go, you can see that people, you know, even there, like when we first got there to Toronto and then CBC Studios and stuff, and you just kind of felt they had that, you know, some country bumpkins from the East Coast, you know, it's, when they were getting Mike, or guitar player, to go in and do studio stuff at night, they could have called anybody they wanted to in Toronto, and they were getting this guy they'd never heard of before because they couldn't believe how good he was, you know, to go in and do overdubs, and to go in to do you know, a lot of the Kevin Canada background stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he had to show a dude from Chilliwack how to play that solo.
Oh, no way.
You know,
Oh,
and,
man, that's cool.
Because he hadn't played it in so long,
Yeah.
and actually he went in the studio at night, recorded it the day of the taping, showed him how it went. He rehearsed it a few times, and then we did the show. No one would ever know or even think about that.
Sure.
You know? So again, just going to show that I'm very proud of East Coast talent, and it's the passion. You know, a lot of people you meet, you can tell why they get into music. And that does not exist as much on the East Coast. They get into music for most parts because of it was around, it was family, it's tradition. It's just in the blood. It's
it's
DNA.
Not,
it's. I mean, of course, it's always to you know, to meet girls or meet guys or to stroke your ego a little bit or to, you know. But it was, you know, you can always tell an East Coast musician versus, you know, the rest of Canada and the rest of the world. Again, so not better or worse. There's just a certain thing about it.
So here's the thing I've noticed, like, you know, having been out of the Maritimes for quite a while, is in a place like this. Now, this is alien to you and me, completely alien. But there's some people that don't listen to music at all. And that's the craziest concept.
I can't even.
But yeah, like
grasp that.
Even when music isn't playing, there's still a soundtrack going on in my head, like all the time.
Absolutely.
Like there's always a beat, there's always something. So, but I talk to a lot of people, like and Winnipeg is a pretty big city. There's actual, like, I talk to people, it's like, why are you so passionate about the music thing? I'm like, how are you so dispassionate about music? Like, how can you not, like, how can you drive and not put the radio on at the very least?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they put the radio on, but they want to listen to something that isn't good. Like, I don't want to get into the song. I'm not interested in getting into a song. I'm like,
no,
oh my
it's
God.
Just background. It's just background.
But they can't even, like, get into a song. Like, how can you not have, like, for me, if I wrote my biography right now, every chapter would have, like, this song or that band or that concert or that show and like a lot of people, they just don't have that. It's a sports reference or something.
Yeah.
And like, it just boggles my mind.
And a lot, you know, obviously that falls on their upbringing, what their household was like. You know, we had music at my house all the time. Like, you know, I remember certain album covers. I remember hearing certain songs from, you know, parties at, you know, 2:30 in the morning, you'd wake up and you'd hear certain music being played. It was not always the same style of music. It was never, you know, but that didn't matter. It was, as soon as you walked in, music was on.
Yep.
That was just the basis of it.
You get up, you turn the radio on, or you put a record on, or a tape, or whatever it was. Like,
and, you know, how fortunate are we, you know, to have that as an upbringing, you know, because, you know, you can tell the difference in a person's character who is not into music, or music is just not important.
Yeah.
It's just not, whatever, you know, whatever's on the radio, you know, whatever. I have a few greatest hits records, and again, it's not any way to disrespect these people. It's that they just had a completely different. They wouldn't be able to put themselves in our lives, or would we be able to put ourselves in their lives? You know.
Yeah.
It's different strokes, of course, for everybody, but I count my blessings all the time that music was a big part of, even though it was not professional, but music was a big part of my household. It was not encouraged, but it was not discouraged. It was one of those.
It's just there.
Yeah, exactly. You know,